Hi, 6th grade math students. It's time for lesson 14.2 on median. So if you need to pause and get your math book, that's all right. Please follow along. We're on page 251 in your textbook. 251. Hopefully, this mean median mode final chapter is a smooth sailing home for you into the summer. But if you do need a refresher, here's the video for you on median. We're also going to be tying in our knowledge of median, not just to counting from the ends of data sets to the middle, but also applying it to dot plots, which will be slightly different, but pretty similar. Let's dive in. 251. Understanding the concept of median. Here's their example. Barbara drew 3 number cards from a box and wanted to know the middle value or median of these values. The median is a second way to summarize the values in a data set with a single number. First, she arranged the numbers from least to greatest. That's important and mandatory when finding a median. Arrange your data in numerical order. When the data has an odd number of values, you can identify the middle value or the median by inspection. And what I mean by inspection, you can use these guys, these fingers, to count from the outside directly into the middle, and that 1 that'll be in the middle is your median if you have an odd set of numbers. She identified the middle value as 12 in this example, so the median of the 3 numbers is 12. Then Barbara picked another number, 19, from the box. She arranged the numbers in order again, and then went 5, 12, 16, 19. But when you're counting from the outside, if you have an even number of values, you have 2 in the exact middle. And then you have to find the mean or the average of these 2 middle values to find the true median. That's what we did last lesson. So mean or average, we're going to add those 2 together and then divide them by 2 since there's 2 of them. So that's going to be 12 plus 16, which is 28, divided by 2. So the true median would be 14. Now 14, that number isn't in that set of data values. It's 5, 12, 16, 19. But because there's 2 in the exact middle, there's an even number of values. Your median would be 14. They say, caution, remember the data must be in order before you look for a middle value or values. The data can be arranged from least to greatest or greatest to least. I would recommend least to greatest just because that's usually how we arrange numbers, but it doesn't make any sense to count to the middle if your numbers are all out of order. Then there's no rhyme or reason or sense to it. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but as I'm filming, I feel like my screen is turning red and green and all sorts of weird shades, but hopefully you can ignore that. I'm a little distracted. Anyway, my apologies. Let's carry on. There's some guided practice you can go through if you'd like to see more examples, but we're going to dive into 253. Find the median of a set of data using a dot plot. This is the new part of the lesson. The dot plot shows the number of children in 7 families living in an apartment complex. Each dot represents 1 family. To find the median, count the dots to find the middle values. All right. The girl says, count to the 4th dot from the left in the dot plot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that the 4th and 5th dots have the same value. So the order of the 4th and 5th dots does not matter. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you count from both ends like you would be doing if it was just a line of numbers. But listen carefully. This is what confused me the first time I learned this, and it confused some students last year. It doesn't matter whether you count from the top of a stack or the bottom of a stack of dots. Be consistent just for your own sake, because it doesn't exactly matter which dot you end up on. You may be off in one in either direction, but the value that that individual dot represents is the actual number value for your answer. Let me read what they have in the corner, a little blurb. When identifying the median value from a dot plot, students can count from the top or bottom of each stack. to find the median value, they don't actually need to identify the middle dot. They just need to identify which value the middle dot in the set lies above. So again, it's that number on the number line below the dot sets that matters. It says there are 7 families altogether. The 4th family is in the middle because there are 3 families to the left and to the right of this family. So if you count the dots, you end up, and each dot represents, I jumped to the problem below. So once you count in A, the median number of children is 2. Does that make sense? You count 1, 2, 3, and then 2 is the value that the dot is above. So it doesn't matter where you count from, the bottom of the stack or the top of the stack, as long as you're counting inside to the center. That'll get a little easier with practice. You'll see what I mean. Let's do B together. The dot plot shows the number of hours 8 children spend on exercise every week. Each dot represents 1 child. So let's just look at this dot plot for a second. Let's interpret the data. We have a range of 1 to 5 hours a week that each child is spending on exercise. If every dot represents 1 child, then I know 1 child among these 8 children spends 1 hour a week on exercise. I know 3 children spend 2 hours a week because there's 3 dots above the 2. I know 2 children spend 3 hours because there's 2 dots above the 3. 1 child spends 4 hours a week and 1, 5. Great. Now let's actually dive into what they're asking us to find. First, find the middle number of hours. All right. Well, if we know there are 8 children altogether, if we're going to divide this into 2 equal groups, it will be 4 children in the upper half and 4 in the lower half, right? So the 4th and 5th children are in the middle. This is even, so we can't just count and find the exact middle dot. The 4th child spends 2 hours and the 5th child spends 3 hours if you look on the dot plot. So if you are counting 1, 2, 3, 4 and you get to the middle, one of them is under the 2 column and one of them is on the 3. So to find the true median, we need to find the mean or the average of 2 and 3. So we add 2 and 3 together to get 5 and divide them by the number of numbers, 2. And 5 divided by 2 is 2.5 hours. So in this instance, with these 8 children in this dot plot, the median of time spent on exercise is 2.5 hours. Great. All right, let's flip over to page 254. This is the last thing we're going to do together. Compare the mean and the median of a data set. So let's take lesson 14.1 and lesson 14.2 and put them together. Mrs. Brown took a survey to find out the number of hours the students in her class spent in the public library in 2 weeks. Oh, rest in peace, the time we could go to public libraries. Each dot represents 1 student. All right, so it looks like if each dot's 1 student, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 students here being surveyed. Whoa, one of them's all the way down at 15 hours a week in the public library. They must hang out there every day after school till their parents get them or something. All right, and then we have the majority of people spend 2 hours because there are 4 dots above 2. And a few people 1 hour and a few people 3, or 1 person 3. It says find the mean and the median. So the mean again is going to be the total number of hours and the total number of students. So the total number of hours divided by the total number of students. Now, the total number of students is the total number of dots. But in order to interpret this dot plot, the total number of hours isn't just going to be the number of dots. Every dot is going to be multiplied by the number value it's over. So for example, there's 2 people that spend 1 hour. So that's going to be 2 hours. Now there are 4 people that spend 2 hours. So together, that is going to be 8 hours. There's 1 person that spends 3 hours, so that's just 3 hours, and 1 person that spends 15, so that's just 15 hours. So then when we add up, what's going to be 2 plus 8 plus 3 plus 15, we should get 28 total hours divided by the number of students, 8 students. 28 divided by 8 is 3.5 or 3.5 hours. That is the average number. Now, think about it. Look at the set of data. Look at the dot plot. The average hours time spent in the library of all the 8 students is 3.5 hours. But look, only one student actually spends more than 3 hours at all. The average isn't necessarily the best description of this data because most people are about 2 hours or under. Here, look at the guy with the blurb. This data set has an outlier, 15. This value makes the mean, or the average, much greater than the typical value for these data. So that makes sense. So the mean, it was accurate. We found it's correct. The average of this set of data is 3.5 hours. But let's find the median. There are 8 students altogether. The 4th and 5th students would be in the middle, right? Because we would have 3, 3, and then these 2 would be in the middle. So 4th and 5th students are in the middle. Each of those students, both of them are in the 2-hour stack of the data at the library. So the median would be 2 hours. Now let's think about it. Which of these 2 measures of central tendency, that's what we call all of these, mean, median, mode, the mean or the median better describes the data set? Justify your answer. So if I ask you this, you should just pick one randomly, be able to defend yourself. So here the mean is 3.5 hours. However, all but one student visited the library for fewer than 3.5 hours in the 2 weeks. So the mean does not describe the data set very well in this instance. That doesn't speak for all of time. There could be a bunch of different varying data sets, but for this one, the mean isn't that helpful. Here, the median is 2 hours. It describes the data set better because most of the data values cluster, or they stack up high, around 2 hours. There are 8 people surveyed, and 4 out of 8, that means half the people, spent 2 hours in the public library. So that is far more helpful than the average or mean in this situation. All right. As always, I am available if you have any questions on any math problem. Shoot me an email, a text, shoot me an email asking for my phone number. If you want to shoot me a quick text, we can have a phone call, we can have a one-on-one Zoom, whatever floats your boat. But above all, I want you to know I'm here for you, I miss you, and let's finish strong with this last chapter of math. Let's knock it out of the park. Until we meet again virtually, bye 6th grade.